All right, y'all, what's going on? GoofyRhexxi here, and hope everybody is doing well. And wanted to talk about a couple topics here today that are kind of been pressing that I've been thinking about over the past couple days here since the Scourge event for Morgan Le Fay has gone live. And really, it's around, how I feel like the Scourge event was ultimately, it feels rushed. It feels a little rushed to me. It feels as if though they weren't necessarily properly prepared, or maybe they just did not want us to properly prepare for the Scourge event with the Deceptive. So we're going to talk about that here. I also want to talk about the fact that I do think that Scopely was a little deceptive and misleading when it comes to some of the lower difficulties, where they mentioned that players are going to be able to unlock Morgan Le Fay by getting XYZ amount of points. I feel as if though they were slightly deceptive in their approach when it comes to that. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Scourge event, and I just ultimately feel like this was really a rushed event, and I can't just help but think that maybe if they had waited a couple more weeks, that this probably would have been a little bit better received. Now, I do want to say this. I do think that the Scourge event has largely been a lot of fun. I played it for the first day, and I did difficulty 7 at first. Some of you guys saw that I posted that on YouTube. Then after that, I did difficulty 8 in the same night. I didn't record that version, that run of it, but was able to get a pretty good, decent score, and I felt pretty good about it. It took a lot longer though. The first run was about 40 minutes at difficulty 7. The second one was probably, I gotta say, it was like an hour and a half of me just doing it. So I mean, within itself, that's probably what. Over 2 hours right there, or close to 2 hours of content that was already done. So terrible math. But listen, I just feel like ultimately the overall event was kind of rushed for a few different reasons. Number one, leaderboard problems, right? And this has been something that we've been talking about for quite some time, and some concerns that we've had. And was really the leaderboard issues, and whether or not they were going to actually be able to take care of this correctly and properly. And we saw so far that through the first few days here, that they have had some issues with leaderboards. Now, I do think that some people are obviously trolling, with these lower level accounts and being in the top rankings and things of that nature. I feel like ultimately people are basically kind of just trolling the game and trolling us, really, because they know that we're going to get pissed off about it. But this was kind of a concern, and they never really gave us any sort of indication as to whether or not they really had a handle on it. And it looked chaotic over the past couple of days, that they really kind of had not figured things out because of how many players and how many people we saw in the top 100 rankings. But even more concerning than that was, yes, you're deleting players from the top 100 rankings, but there's still some issues that we had with players who were under the top 100, and whether or not they were really actually able to monitor that in the first place. And that was the concern that we had, and we kept on sharing with them, is why are you insisting, right, on doing these leaderboards? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we just weren't we didn't trust their ability to actively take care of it. So we saw with the Avengers Tower that there were some issues there. Ultimately, the event just feels as if though they should have probably held off until they could really handle the issue. Now, they have released some bans, and I guess that's good, but we'll see whether or not that's actually sustainable, or if whether or not that's actually just a band-aid for what they're doing. But the second thing that I wanted to talk about is, and the reason why I feel that this event was rushed, is Morgan Le Fay was released before Agatha's event was released. Now, yes, we got Agatha offers, but we didn't get an actual Agatha event in the game before Morgan was released. And it's the first time in a while, or ever really, that I've seen where they have released a legendary before releasing the full legendary team. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. And it feels as if though the reason why they did this was on purpose. Which leads to kind of like my ultimate point as to the reason why they released the Scourge event early. It's because they didn't want us to be prepared for the Scourge event. And right now I'm having some complaints where players are saying, hey, I don't have my global team built up enough. I don't have enough villains characters available to me. And we constantly ask, and I want to give a shout out to Philosopher, who constantly asks the question, can we get some more information on the event itself? What are the other restrictions that are going to be there? And a lot of us ask the same questions, like, hey, can we get some more information as to what other characters are going to be needed? What are going to be the other restrictions and the requirements for these other nodes? And they never really were upfront with trying to release that information. And that definitely leads to some frustration, I think, from a lot of the player base, because now you have players who, the only information that was given to us was, you're going to need web warriors and you're going to need Dark Hunters, but nobody was ever prepared to say, okay, well, I'm going to need a global team, I'm going to need a villain team, I'm going to need a cosmic team. And then to be able to be prepared for that, especially players who are maybe mid-game, who probably could build up those characters, but just don't necessarily know that they need to build them. There was never really any preparation given, no transparency there. And it's very unique that they've done that, because in the past, whenever you release a legendary character, we know that Adam Warlock, we know that Omega Red, that you need XYZ characters to be at XYZ star level and gear tier now with these mythic legendaries in order for you to be able to unlock them. But that same courtesy was not afforded us when it comes to this legendary event. And to me, that's a little bit frustrating. And obviously they're trying to do that because they wanted to make sure that they were using and getting after the FOMO sales, right? Or people who would frantically upgrade their rosters in order to be able to get through the event. And in my opinion, that's kind of in poor taste if you ask me. But I digress from that. That's frustrating within itself. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is a little bit of the deception right now from Scopely and Marvel Strike Force, Boundless Entertainment, whichever one you want to call it. And it's really kind of started off with this blog post here. So this was what, last week? They mentioned the Pestilence Scourge event. Put your entire roster on high alert because Morgan Le Fay's Pestilence Scourge event is set to arrive soon for commanders level 50 plus on April 13th, blah, 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 words. You can unlock 3-star Morgan Le Fay during the event through the milestone rewards with a run score of 500k. If you're not able to hit 500k points, you can still unlock Morgan Le Fay with a run score of 425k. Words, we go down. We've been doing a lot of internal testing, and this has led us to lowering the difficulties to unlock Morgan Le Fay since it was first announced. Instead of the required difficulty 5, most players should now be able to unlock difficulty 4, provided that enough Scourges are able to earn the required points instead of requiring difficulty 6. So this is where I'm going to pause, right? They said most players would be able to do this at difficulty 4. When you jump into the game and you try to start equipping, let's go down to difficulty 4. They said that you needed 425k points, right? I'm going to start equipping some Scourges here. And actually, let's start at the top. Let's start at the ones that give you the highest points, right? There we go. That's 3. That's 4. By the way, these Scourges are terrible. That's 5. That's okay. More. That's more. Okay. More. Okay. We're still not at 425. Okay. We still not at 425. So when they said that most players were going to be able to get through this, and these are the more difficult Scourges that I just equipped, right? So if you're trying to go into it where you're trying to equip some of the smaller Scourges or the ones that don't affect it as much, they didn't tell you that you had to equip almost all the Scourges or more than half the Scourges in order for you to be able to unlock it. And these Scourges make this event incredibly challenging. So to me personally, I find this to be a little bit deceptive, right? Because you said most players will be able to. What most players? And how many Scourges did you have to equip in order for you to be able to do so? I don't know. To me, I just find this to be a little bit deceptive. And I know a lot of players are right now are incredibly frustrated and have kind of given up on the event because they cannot and I want to say this too, like they thought that this would be helpful by reduce, so they changed it so that that you would need to use your Web Warriors in difficulty 5 now, as opposed to just difficulty 6 and above. That also kind of hurt players, right? Because there are players who probably didn't have Web Warriors built up yet or Dark Hunters built up yet, because remember, some of the Web Warrior characters, Ghost Spider, Scarlet Spider, weren't able to get a lot of shards on them, especially Scarlet Spider, because Scarlet Spider was the Pocket Dimension. You could only get 50 shards from the milestones, and if you couldn't complete Pocket Dimension, then you couldn't get all the way up to 3 stars for the character. It was kind of a weird event, right? It wasn't great. So that was a concern for me then in the first place, with them changing now that you would have to use Web Warriors and Dark Hunters in difficulty 5. And that, I believe right now, is preventing a lot of players from actually being able to accumulate this 425k points or these 500k points that they're mentioning, because now they have to use Web Warriors and Dark Hunters in those nodes, and they are challenging enough. And if you don't have Web Warriors built up, don't have those Dark Hunters built up, then your only option really is to then go into difficulty 4 and equip a gajillion amount of Scourges in order to be able to get the amount of points that they're recommending for the event. Oh my God, that's just not very good in my opinion. And they should have, I don't know. I don't like it. The event itself feels rushed. there wasn't enough preparation given for players to be able to build out their rosters, to figure some information out, to get some information properly out so that they could plan out what they wanted to do with their rosters, invest in the right way to be able to do it. And then difficulty 4, it kind of misled players. I'm hearing that some of you guys are struggling right now with like global and villain characters, because I did this on stream a little bit earlier. Like, I filtered out my villain roster, and I'm like, anybody who's doing difficulty 4 and probably difficulty 5, they probably don't have Doom, right? They probably don't have Doom. So that's going to be a struggle. Maybe they have Doc Ock. Emma is still only a milestone orb exclusive. And some of the players who are doing difficulty 4, difficulty 5 have only been playing the game for maybe a year plus or so. Yes, you have Zemo. You probably don't have Omega Red. There's a lot of these. This game has not really been great with villain characters. So that's been a struggle for a lot of players as well. And in the global nodes, because some players were not able to get, once again, you don't have Doom, right? Doom is a global character that could be helpful there. So I don't know, man. I'm just like, for an event that I think was largely fun for me in the beginning, and I'm probably going to enjoy doing it later on. I do feel for those who are at those lower tiers that cannot do the event. I feel for players who probably didn't feel like they were properly prepped for this event. Ultimately feeling this event was probably a little too rushed. I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. This is where kind of my thoughts are at right now with this. It's the leaderboard situation got to be figured out. They're figuring it out. Concerned though whether or not that's consistent enough, whether or not it's going to actually solve the issue that's there. I don't know. We'll have to see as we move forward. But listen, want to know what your guys' thoughts are, comments are. Leave it down below, guys. Want to hear what you got to say. What are your thoughts? Am I being too crazy? Let me know if I'm looking at this the wrong way. I'm open to reprove if that's what you feel, right? But I'm very curious to hear what you guys are thinking and how you guys are feeling, especially those who are forced to do difficulty 4 and difficulty 5. I want to hear from you guys as well. But listen, appreciate you guys watching the video. If you like it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel here. Check out the links that are down below in the description. Join the Discord, guys. Want to have some discussions with you guys there as well. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, y'all be blessed and y'all be safe. Take it easy.